G'day everyone, Goober here with one of my final pre-season videos for Torchlight Infinite SS7. TLIDB is now updated with all of the new stuff. So now I can go through my Boom Moto starter and just see if, what I thought would be good is still good, and go through, say, the major talents and just compare them. For an example, Orders has had a 50% nerf to additional summon skill cast speed. However, Boom Moto charge calling has also had the base summoning speed increased. So I don't know if this is going to affect the build at all, the additional summon cast speed, because it has been, or it was doubled in just the base Boom Moto stats. Another one to take note of here is shrink back. Currently, there is a 50% chance to gain a barrier when taking damage. That might be really interesting with this. Like, it's not going to matter next season because 50% chance is gone. But there is self-damage in next season, so maybe that's why they changed this from 50% chance, because you could just infinitely damage yourself and gain infinite barrier. But then I guess the barrier is getting destroyed by you taking damage. So maybe that thought process is just dumb. So anyway, you gain barrier every 1 second, and there's a plus 50% barrier shield. Now, remembering, I think it is a Kismet that adds a percentage or 2% of your armor stat to your barrier. So if you're stacking 50,000 armor, that is a pretty huge boost to your barrier, which is refreshed every single second, which is pretty huge defensively. Sentry, who cares? We're not a sentry class. And this, 20% additional minion damage is still quite huge. Definitely use that for the campaign and early maps. And then later on in T7, T8 deep space, maybe switch to shrink back if you need the barrier for survivability. Next up, we have isomorphic arms and mighty guard and such. So we'll just switch to that. And we have Mighty Guard, +2, for command, unchanged. Overloaded Mind, looks like it is unchanged. And Isomorphic Arms has been slightly changed. So plus 30% additional spell damage for minions while wielding a wand or a tin staff. Wands have minion damage on them, so additional spell damage for minions. That'd be pretty cool if it was additional damage in general, but it is what it is. Maybe not for mine, maybe for Grim Phantoms, which the Machine Lord helmet will be for Grim Phantoms, so that may be interesting. And we'll have to see what we go with. +2 minion skill levels and 4% command is pretty hard to pass up, because command is 3% additional damage per stack. So that is really +2 minion skill levels and +12% additional damage for minions. Going on to the nodes and such, let's just reset that. I'm not level 90, so that's free. So we can just have a quick look at these. Still 9%. These look unchanged. It's just a shame that this is still 9%. Medium talent is 18%. Yep. I'll go through and see if there's any other major changes that will do this, or the video is going to be forever long. So there is a slight change to this one. It is 15% minion critical strike damage and 10% minion skill area. So it's a slight buff to the minion skill area, which is cool. Wait, no, I'm dumb. that's still the same. That's the minor. The medium is still 10%, so there's no change there. So there is no other changes to God of Machines. Let's go to God of, or Machinist. Okay, so this is mostly unchanged. Boss is still the same. Heat up is still the same. Broken Shell does not exist. Broken Shell is replaced with Rally. Synthetic Troop minions summoned at a time +1. This won't matter for Boom Motos using the Machine Lord helmet because the cap is going to be 2. So you basically just may as well. Oh, both of them aren't that great actually because you're limited to 2. So much the muchness. I guess this one will be better because it's 20% minion damage, whereas this one's 10%. This one may be better later on. No, this one will be better later on because you're summoning 1 extra. That's +1 max. I guess you just have to test them out on the dummy to see what's better, Rally or Boss. I believe the passive for Boom Moto is during charge calling, synthetic troop minions summoned at a time is +1. So you're summoning 2 anyway. So if you're using Machine Lord, you're capped at 2 anyway. So there's no change there at all. On to the next part, Burning Aggression. It's the same. Co-resistance, additional sentry damage, attack speed bonus. So that's just gained 25% additional sentry damage, which is pretty nice. And kinetic conversion is gone. So kinetic conversion was minus damage taken, 100% chance to gain barrier. So that because they changed how barrier works, they're removing these extra ones. And 5% additional damage taken for every synthetic troop within 10 meters. That sounds pretty nuts for Automoto. So that means that they will just have minus 30% additional damage taken because they've always got 6 minions out, which is crazy. So that is huge for Automoto, although giving up 60% additional damage is pretty insane. So huge offensive here, huge defensive here for this isn't really that great for Boom Moto because we're only going to have 2 minions, so that's only 10%, whereas we're better off having burst when we get to a boss. What? So this node here used to give minion max life. It doesn't anymore. It's just max life ES. That's disappointing. 6 and 8%. The medium talent is 6 and 6% ES. No minion max life. It's hard to read TLIDB because it has nodes here that are minion max life. So I'm thinking, does it read down the page? Because it's minion damage, which is these two. And then this one is over here. This one, I expected to be this one. However, there's another shield icon there. So is that this one? Is this one now 3% minion max life? I don't know. Oh, it's got the 3 points here. And 6 points, 6 points. Okay. I understand. So this node here is 5% minion max life instead of max energy shield. So what they've done, they've removed the max life from here, made that energy shield, so that's just a max life or max ES node. And this is, instead of being max ES, it is minion max life. So if you're going this build, this tree on Moto, it doesn't matter anymore because this is the hybrid, and you just wouldn't pick this up because you don't care about minion max life. So that's a pretty intelligent switcheroony there. There's no real change. They're just been swapped around. So this is pure survivability, and this will be minion max life. Doesn't really look like there's any other changes there. Onto Steel Vanguard. So this has been buffed. So Reflection was just 5% additional damage for each type of aura you are affected by. Now it also affects minions, so that is going to be 20% additional damage for minions, which is really quite nice. The energy shield, etc., is still the same. Curtain has been changed from 35% energy shield refreshes. Refreshes barrier when gaining barrier. So now it is just 40% additional barrier shield for that big tankaroonie. So you have a clear DPS option or a clear tank option if you are stacking the if you are stacking the barrier shield, which is pretty cool. Let's look at the other one. The other one, knowledgeable, empower, defensive, no change. Poison immunity, no change. Kinetic conversion. This has been moved from the other tree to here. So 100% chance of gaining barrier for every 5 meters that you move. Refreshes barrier when gaining barrier. So that's been taken. Oh, there's just from. But it is minus 40% additional barrier shield. So these two would cancel each other out. Not sure I like the minus 40% additional barrier shield, but was that on the previous one? It wasn't. So it was minus extra damage taken while moving. So where was that? Refresh barrier when gaining barrier. So they've put curtain on kinetic conversion and inverted the extra barrier shield on it, which is, I mean, it's still going to be very good for the refreshes barrier when gaining barrier is really nice because you don't want to have a barrier left with 5 HP on it. You do want a full barrier all the time. So I guess you're taking a fresh barrier every second. If you combine the two, it'll just be 40% smaller. But it will be full every second versus if you have barrier, you can't gain barrier. If that makes sense. This node is a pretty huge upgrade for this talent tree. Currently, it is 10% additional damage applied to life. Next season, it also applies to minions. So that is just 10% additional damage for minions, which is really, really nice. Where's that other one in this? So 24 points. So currently, excuse me. Currently there is 4 options. Next season there will be another option here. So currently we have movement speed on defeat, which you don't really notice, honestly. Kind of whatever. We have the aura effect, which is still the same. We have another node here that will be 10% barrier absorption rate. It is only a single point, which is fine. but it is 10%, which is quite good. It slightly counters the new node there. We have the minions deal an additional 10% damage to life, and this one remains unchanged as well. So some pretty interesting changes, not many huge surprises here. The imbued skill levels, the empowered skill levels and stuff still exist. So very minor changes here. The major changes are the core abilities. So you'll be able to clearly choose an offensive or a defensive one, depending on what content you are doing. What else can we find on TLIDB? I guess one of the major changes to the hero traits this season is previously it was adds base physical damage equal to 3% of the sum of the synthetic troops minions max life and energy shield. Next season it will be for every 1 max life or energy shield. Self-destruct triggered deals 0.02 additional damage. Doesn't specify physical, doesn't specify elemental. So one of the things with old Boom Moto is if you convert physical to elemental, that is a multiplier. Now it is just a flat base rate there. This may be good if there is a good way to convert your max life and energy shield to the synthetic troop, but I haven't seen something like that, so this seems like a nerf. However, I'm not going to do the math on it. I'm just going to play it and see how it feels. Next up we have Unstoppable Wave. So Unstoppable Wave, the first part remains unchanged. The second part remains unchanged. The third part, plus 2% additional minion damage for each mechanical part picked up, stacks up to 10 times. This has had a slight buff. It is now 3% for the first 10. If you get the hero trait to level 2, 3, 4, 5, it goes up to 35%, then like 42%. Etc, etc. Overall, at max rank, this is a 10% damage buff over what it currently is. So it just shows you the here it goes 10 to 15. Next season it just goes 10 to 10. However, it's going from 2 to 3.5%. So it is a slight buff on every stage. Looks like Heroic Sacrifice remains unchanged. Guerrilla Tactics. 50% increase, decrease, skill area, blah blah. Yep, no change. 3% additional. So this is another one. This currently stacks up to 50 times. It has been changed to 3% additional, stacks up to 20 times. So that is a 10%, well, yeah, a 10% boost as well. It is additional damage, so it is a multiplier, so that just means more damage. Less stacks, so it's faster to stack up as well. Fuel War with War. You can store up to 6, no change. Blah, blah, blah. +4. Granting the still +4 synthetic troops summoned at a time, which is huge, which is really cool. Fuel War with War. Summon all the max troops. Maybe that's what I was missing this season. Because previously you would get both of these through a hero memory. And I was wondering why I wasn't summoning any friggin' minions. That's why. And 10% to 16% looks like those values are the same. So unchanged there. And essential speed 25, 30, no change there. So if you're not using Machine Lord, that one, faux show. If you are using Machine Lord, that one. What else have we got? Just another quick look at Machine Lord. We can also see the tier 0 corrosion stats here. So elemental res, you can get up to 25% all res, which is pretty nice. The max number of synthetic troops to 3 would be basically a 50% damage increase over a non-corroded version, and then adds 160 to 200% with, that's one thing there, which would be pretty nice. But also 22% cull is also pretty insane. I guess if you got cull with explodity, that would be pretty nuts. You could have your minions exploding, and then the new affixes for minion explosion, enemy explosion, be pretty nice. I never noticed this neck last season. However, this is pretty nuts. So this would be great for Spider Egg, because it is in the new season. Extra aura effect, quite nice. +5 synthetic troop stacks of horizontal projectile jumps. So Spider Egg, your spiders explode and then they split with how many jumps and stuff you have. So that would be 5 additional splits per spider minion, which would be a cascade of damage, which is nuts. But anyway, what I wanted to look at was Warden's Breastpin. Hey, bring me back Warden's Breastpin. Whatever, I'll just click on it. So Warden's Breastpin, unchanged. So everything's unchanged through the current season. You can get up to 100% crit strike rating on the corrosion. Additional minion damage and max life, really quite nice. And if you are running an elemental build, then that is what you want. However, just so you are aware, I thought I covered it in the last video. However, I saw it on the Discord. Why will you not go back? Dex helmet. Machine Lord helmet does not work with Warden's Breastpin. Adds 120 to 160% of physical damage as fire, cold, and lightning damage. What Warden's Breastpin does is it makes it so you either deal physical or elemental. So if you have a minions cannot deal physical damage Warden's Breastpin, then you are timesing 0% damage by 160. So it is null and void. Does not work together. So just keep that in mind. Do not run Warden's Breastpin and Machine Lord at the same time. They should not work together. You either deal physical or you deal elemental damage with Warden's Breastpin. Just can't stress that enough. These two shouldn't work together. Shouldn't, unless it's bugged. Looking at crafts for rings, it looks like if you are going for ultimate affixes, they are all shown here. I would probably go for 10 command and 26% chance for minions to do double damage. Really nuts. I'm surprised that this is an ultimate affix. That doesn't make much sense. That's normally a basic. Weird. Unless there's no other ways of gaining it, which wouldn't make much sense. And you can get resistances elsewhere. 55% minion max life on the advanced. Quite nice. So that's what, 1, 2, 3, These are nice. Prefix, oh, suffixes. Okay. Still, you can only have 2 of these, so they're okay. This is quite nice. If I had to choose, depending on how much double damage I had elsewhere, would be armor, mitigation, and command, or command and double damage. Faux show. Tier 0 versions, 34% double damage there. It's quite insane. There's an extra 9% additional damage there. So pretty sweet. Minion damage on your basic starter stuff, no doubt. Tier 0 plus, 44%. Big balls if you want to roll for that. This is pretty interesting. So looking at the tin staves, all of them add an element to spells. However, this one here just says plus 80% spell damage, which is nuts. I didn't realize this was in the game. So if you get plus 80% spell damage with isomorphic arms, plus because it is a tin staff, or isomorphic arms is giving you an additional 30% spell damage, that could be kind of nutty. The other one that isomorphic arms works with is a wand. Which again is just damage, which makes me think that isomorphic is not... I guess it's still good, but we don't really want wands, do we? We want... What do we want? Rods? Yeah. Rods. Heart of all rod. Get some rod in your hand. Giggity. Where's the affixes and stuff that I saw on the rings? So again, on wand, on a rod, you can have 40% chance for minions to deal double damage, which is quite insane. Minion crit strike damage. Although you kind of want to just go with crit strike damage, but you can't get that on the wand. So, or the rod, rather. If we go with tier 0, 52% chance. Tier 0 plus, 68% chance. That could just absolutely be mental. Obviously, tier 0 plus is a huge gamble. You can't just aim for it. You have to craft a perfect weapon and then hit it with the corrosion. Max synthetic troops plus additional damage. That's kind of insane. Without that, it's just plus troops, though. Pretty interesting. So anywho, that's pretty much all I have for this video. Just a quick look at the TLIDB updates. You can check out TLIDB.com. It shows when the new season starts in your time zone. For me, it is 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, which is fantastic. And yeah, so if you have any questions, feel free to go over to TLIDB and check it out for yourself. Warlock, off the beaten track, unchanged. So they just buffed everything else and left off the beaten track as it is. So your builds that use that, pretty much unchanged. There's some other points in there that probably got updated as well. I'll probably be going with Steel Vanguard though, just to check that out. And yeah, minion damage. Skill cost. Minion damage. ailment. +1 all skills. Anywho, I'm getting distracted, as I always do. And I'll see you all bright and early for some of you. Others, nighttime. I'll be streaming 30 minutes prior to season launch. And hopefully we can get some good viewership there. And have some fun. Cheers.